All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So, two tickers on this one. We're going to look at Lunar and we're going to look at Rocket Lab. So, Intuit Machines, LUNR on the first one. And really, both have been very much discussed on the Discord. And I said it today and I said the exact same things on SoundHound. All right, I don't know if you saw my SoundHound video a couple days ago, but this really reminds me of SoundHound. All right, SoundHound had amazing technicals. It was testing a big resistance, positive MACD. It wasn't even at the 80 RSI. Volume was so good. And all of a sudden we see a really bad red candle, right? Lunar, exact same words. We were testing literally the last resistance line I have drawn, right? So testing a big resistance, positive MACD, still a healthy RSI, not even at 80. Volume's not that bad. All of this is good. None of this matters. It's all about earnings. Believe me, I know you're watching this video expecting a technical analysis dude to tell you about some technical analysis stuff. I'll give you my thoughts on them, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's all about earnings, all right? So I'll echo that a bunch of times, and believe me, that's the exact same thing I said on SoundHound, all right? So you can see why I did there. I have no idea. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen. That is not the point of that comparison, right? And again, I'll give you more thoughts later. But yeah, always respect earnings. That's something I say on every single ticker, big or small, okay? Excuse me from that. From there, RKLB. From there, we're going to look at Rocket Labs, and my goodness, what a day today. You know, there was a lot of hype on this one for SpaceX reasons. This was earnings. This was real earnings too, and I think if I can find it quickly, give me a set right here. Look at that. Earnings per share was a beat. They were expecting a bigger loss. They didn't. Beautiful. Earnings was a beat. They were expecting a 2. We end with a 5. Net loss was, I think, better. EBITDA, I mean, it's I don't know if that's good or bad. I think that's bad, actually. But again, whatever, right? We got a couple green dots. This wasn't a bad earnings, right? It wasn't a bad earnings, and that's why you get a real monster gap up, right? I'll talk about the doji itself, but man, you break all 5 on rumors, you break all 5 on real earnings. It doesn't matter. Once you break all 5, man, this thing flew, and it's been a wild ride here. All right, so excited to talk about these. And again, the big difference before I end the opening thoughts, Rocket Lab has already come and gone in terms of earnings. Earnings came, it wasn't bad, it's at least gapped up. It's going to need to confirm, and I'll talk about that shortly, right? But Lunar hasn't yet. And Lunar needs to drop the earnings hammer really well. Otherwise, oh man, you don't want it to stub your toe, all right? So before we go any, that was a silly analogy. I will not pretend it wasn't. Before we go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so let's get into it. And I said it this morning, and it was at a bigger percentage. You can see regular hours did close at around 13. Let's come into the general real quick, LUNR. I'll give you my canopy thoughts shortly there. Look, right here, it was around 8. I mean, we were at 16%, all right, when I made this comment. It's right here. Look, even with Lunar running to the next resistance line, and it did. It happened before I put that comment. Look, it's all about earnings tomorrow morning. All right, this was a big pop. It was an even bigger run as we went almost $1. There was an extra 10%. You basically added $1 on an $11 stock, right? I'm rounding, but you get it, right? just because we saw such a big thing, it doesn't mean it's going to be a good earnings. Look, it might be a good earnings, right? It really, really might. I have no idea. My dad does not work at Intuit Machines. You know what I mean? I got no insider information. I have no idea what's going to happen. The one thing I know, today's movement does not mean it's going to be for sure good. It is not guaranteed. You know what I mean? I like that Luke said this. Look, the real catalyst is the mission. All right. Maybe we're not going to get good earnings. All right. But if they talk about their product, if they talk about NASA, if they give me the guidance to believe, if they give me the guidance to believe that all of a sudden we're going to do what we just did before and all that sort of stuff, oh man, we'll get to the chart shortly, but crazy things can happen. Actually, look, I say it a little bit later. Once that 1260 breaks, things can go wild, and for sure earnings will destroy that number or make it that much harder to get over, right? And again, I'll show you the charts. All right, so this is one thing that I'm gonna put a comment here. Okay, I sincerely don't know. I am not here making rumors. I did not read this anywhere. This is just a sincere question. Look, is there any worry about SpaceX eating some of Intuit Machines, eating their lunch? You know what I mean? That's kind of it's a whatever. You get what I'm saying, I hope. Like SpaceX, again, I've been talking about DXYZ because I do think SpaceX is going to get a bunch of, at the minimum, one extra contract because Elon and Trump are best friends. I don't know if this is an apples to apples company. Like, I don't know if SpaceX actually does what Lunar does, what Intuit does. Again, in my head, SpaceX can do some NASA contract stuff, right? So there's a little bit of a I don't know. Hey, if I'm wrong, please let me know. Again, if they're not apples to apples, if Intuit has some sort of something, right? Like if there's like a little extra, let me know, right? But hey, just a little food for thought, okay? So let's get into the technicals, and I'll talk about the up and the down, all right? The one thing I'm going to say, at least let me just review it really quick right now. Everything is great right now, okay? This is a big candle that's over an important resistance that was a resistance, resist, right? Big candle, doji don't count. To me, that gap up right there is a confirmation. That's an important day after the doji. That's an important day after getting over all five. And hey, we'd already broken all five down here, right? So not a lot of great confirmations, but yeah, this was a real big string of 3 or 4, you can say right here, okay? Today, I'm just going to quickly show the 15-minute. Oh, wow, it was that quick. Look, it was on the first attempt and it went. Once we took, can I go to the minute? How quick was it? How quick was it? It was this. It wasn't even that many candles. Look at that, right? But once it took that 620, it was a resistance. It bounced, it went, right? Like that right there, it just, small time frame. I don't know why I'm wasting our time with that. Let's talk about the charts really quickly, okay? The reason this 1260 number is a really, really important number, it's the first green candle. It's the first good green candle from the IPO. Obviously, this is another one, and if you start looking into this one, silly things can happen, right? You gotta break this one, right? What date is this? You have to break this February 15th candle before you can even have dreams about this monster February 16th candle, all right? So I took the top of this. It's definitely not a good 50% of this one, but yeah, that's the candle I care about, right? So this is the first good IPO candle, right? That was a nice one, no confirmation. That was a good one. Like, I can zoom in if you really want, but you can do it later on your time, right? Like, that was a good candle. That was a doji, and that was the first pop, and that was the wildness beyond, right? So this is the line. We will either, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to I think you're going to come here. I think it'll come to 21. No, I think it'll come to the other place I'm thinking about is right here, is 16. I don't think 16 will hold. I don't. I think there's too, by the time you're at the top of this candle right here at 16.19, you are already in the monster candle. You have already started the green to red to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think 16 whatever's going to hold. Maybe 1550, right? You can see the open was 1532. I think we destroy all that if the earnings are good, and my next line would come to 21. It's not quite half of this. I'm gonna give a little respect to that little random doji right there. I don't know why. I think I just feel it in my gut. I will say the one thing I love about lines, right, is there's very little like objectiveness to it, right? You either break a line or you don't. To me, drawing the support and resistances, there's a little bit of an art to it. There's a little bit of you'll get a feel for it as you do more. And again, the way I say it on my videos, I swear that's the way I think it in my head. I'm not drawing this line for perfect. I'm setting an expectation. If I'm right, oh, we pile on, we attack, and we go. If I'm wrong, I adjust and move on, right? I'm not here putting my foot down and none of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that's the way up. Oh, I zoomed in too much. Nope, that's not what it is. I'm not in the right view. That's the way up, all right? It's in my opinion, a significant up, okay? On the way down, I think we come as low as 777. Look in the box over there. That is the 50 moving average today. That is not a nice, pretty number that I just decided to pick. I think it's 777. It is also the bottom of this candle, so I think that's actually a pretty important immediate resistance, right? That was basically the start of the good gap up right there, right? I think if bad earnings happens, we will completely lose these two lines, even though the 8 and the 20 have been incredibly strong lines for what? Almost a full 3 months now, almost 4, you can say, right? So the amazingness of all of this will either be exponentially amplified if it's good, or it will completely erase it all. We'll come to 777. And if we lose 777, there's a real good chance there's another dollar loss, and you basically come down to like 677, roughly speaking, $6.77, right? So earnings is a big I don't know. I've come to learn, I've come to respect earnings, right? And the one big thing I'm just going to say is you don't need a catch day one. You can ride the confirmation up, or you just avoid the avalanche down, right? But let me know what your thoughts are. One more time, I sincerely believe, and I'm going to end it with this, right? Where was it? Right here. I'm going to end it with these thoughts. I don't think much is going to matter about the numbers if they can talk about the mission. If they say nothing about the mission, it'll probably crash. I don't know if that's an extreme or not, but I think, hey, that'll take us down to 777. And for a lot of people, going from 11 to 777 is horrible, right? So, it's not an extreme. I think it's actually a pretty, but yeah, I think you got to talk about the mission. You got to talk about the product. You got to talk about the rocket. Give me some number stuff too. Don't get me wrong. I want to hear it, but let's see what I'm not even showing the weekly chart. The last thing I'm going to say, our simple human opinions about the earnings don't matter as much as the market's reaction. Just because we read good words doesn't mean we're going to see good candles and good reactions. Again, earnings are crazy. Earnings are ridiculous. Earnings are unpredictable. I stress it on blue chip $1,000 stocks. I stress it on penny stocks and everything in between. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at Rocket Lab. All right. First off, let's give some good love. RKLB. All right. There have been 92 results. We've been talking about Rocket Lab for a good while. Good while. I don't even have to go back, but I'm telling you, this has been on the radar for a while, all right? There was a nice little election boost right there as well, right? And a lot of people were saying it was a SpaceX kind of thing, right? You can also see they're actually in aerospace and defense. I mean, you kind of got to start to believe that he's going to spend a little good money on defense and stuff like that, right? So there was a lot to like just in the pre-movements, right? And then I started the video with it. I showed it a little bit. There was some real earnings when you can beat EPS, earnings per share, I've always said are arguably the three most important letters in earnings. Earnings per share can oftentimes make or break an earnings. You know what I mean? And oh man, that's a beautiful gap up. I'm not the biggest fan of this candle, all right? Because let's just take a look at the day real quick, right? We open right here. We open right here at 1919. We obviously go as high as 22. We kind of come back down here, right? So some people, I don't know who, I hope more people sold than bought at the peak, right? But yeah, that's a little bit of a tough drop right there, especially on what should have held a little bit on earnings. You know what I mean? That said, look, we are pushing a really high RSI on the daily. We are pushing a really high RSI in the weekly. The weekly RSI is at a 90. You know what I mean? So I think it makes sense that it's not able to just again rocket up, right? I think this is where you got to let the indicators give you a little bit of reality. The one thing I've been echoing, I mean pretty much since the election, right? When the indices look good, you can maybe ignore some stuff. And again, so far, I know it's not looking the best, right? I know it's basically a bunch of dojis and red. We're holding all-time highs. We haven't even come back down to the 8 moving average and are worried about that, right? We're still at a really healthy 67. And I mean, this has actually been a pretty good earnings week. I think I'm seeing more good earnings. I'm seeing myself get more excited about tickers than being like, oh my, we've got death drops coming and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Looking at the S&P 500, pretty much the exact same thing, right? I'm still seeing the 8 moving average go up, the 20s behind it, the 50s going up. These look good down here. Like, I'm still not that worried about the indices. So to me, maybe you can say, hey, I'm gonna kind of ignore the high RSI. I just again, to me, those are what we use to kind of keep our expectations in reality. And I think that does make sense. All right, let me zoom out. We're not in all-time highs just yet, are we? Oh my gosh, we are that close. I got to go to the daily and I got to go basically to the IPO. Give me a second. Let's draw some lines. Let's zoom in too. Let's draw some good lines because we're actually like these kind of matter. Okay. And then let's delete those. I really just care about this little peak right here, right? Okay, so the first one I'm going to draw is the top of that guy right there. And then I'm also going to draw half that guy right there. I will even just lower it. Yeah, no, I think that was a good line actually. I think it's right there. So look at that. That's basically in between what we're sitting. So in my opinion, so this is you know what? Let's do one more. Just in case. I don't think that's we're going to go down that low. I think that's a little aggressive, but let's just put it. I think that's a really good 1, 2, 3 for Rocket Labs. If you break $20.70, you're breaking our golden line. You're gonna run all-time highs, and it's gonna be an amazing. There is no better place for your hard-earned money than all-time highs. You have no resistances over our golden line. Okay. I do believe 1845 will be a strong support. I just drew it on the candle that I'm basing it on. This should be a strong support, okay? The RSI is really high on the daily. The RSI is really high on the weekly. I'm going to give those a little bit of respect, and I'm going to draw this $16.44 line. We can call it 16.50 if you want. Again, I'm not here pretending to know the math. This 8 is going up, and it is going to get a tighter slope, a bigger slope to account for this gap up soon, right? So I can see the 8 making its way to about that 16-ish line. And again, I think at this point, I don't think we're going to lose the 8. I'm trying to guess where we're going to meet the 8, and that'll be our point, right? But in my head, I think this needs to come down. I think this needs to give us a little bit better of an RSI. Let me just kind of zoom out really quick and zoom out really quick, okay? We've seen high RSIs for sure, right? This thing actually has a better ability to go to a high RSI than most. it has not yet proven to me it knows how to live horizontally. Okay, I will 100% say I got that. I got SoFi wrong. What does SoFi look like? Ignore SOPA. This is a bad one. Sometimes when my pudgy fingers hit wrong stocks, I still look at it. You never know. Look, I said this exact same thing for SoFi and I was wrong. SoFi peaks up and drops, peaks up and drops, peaks up and drops, peaks. There wasn't yet really a moment where it stayed horizontal like it did right here for as long as it did. And I assume that we were gonna go from here, this doji up here, a little bit lower, maybe this one. I don't know, one of them. But the same R. I was wrong on it with SoFi. And again, there's nothing guaranteed in my thoughts or this and that. But I'm here setting expectations, right? To me, I'm seeing a lot of peak and drop, peak and drop, peak and drop. Peak. I have to assume it's going to happen again. I think we're going to come down back to about a 60, 70 maybe. I think 70. I think this thing knows how to hold 70 pretty well. I think 72 is a little bit realistic. It needs to cool off. It needs a healthy cool off, and that's the place. I wasted too many minutes saying that, but hopefully you saw the thoughts and the reasons behind that, and you're going to say, no, that wasn't a waste. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.